there was some controversy surrounding some comments you made about lawyers at Guantanamo Bay. Let me give you the quote, and you could react to it.
Yeah.
You said on January 11th of 2007 on Federal News Radio, "I think quite honestly when corporate CEOs see that those firms are representing the very terrorists who hit their bottom line back in 2001, those CEOs are going to make those law firms choose between representing terrorists or representing reputable firms." Now, that's a very controversial statement because you seem to be basically threatening the law firms that are representing the detainees down there that they're going to lose their business if they continue to do this pro bono work. Do you think that was a mistake on your part?
Yeah, it was a boneheaded thing to say. I put my foot in my mouth. I said it in a totally wrong way. I apologize for it in a written format. It was published in the Washington Post just a couple, 3 days later. And, I mean, when you do hundreds of interviews, sometimes you misspeak. Look.
What did you mean to say?
What I really meant to say, and this is sort of being the nerd law professor that I used to be, is when a lawyer represents two sides to a conflict, like if, let's say, you and your wife are getting a divorce and I was the lawyer, I'd have to get a waiver of potential conflict from both you and your bride. And so I was trying to make sort of an academic ethics point, but I screwed up. I misspoke.
I don't get that, Cully. What do you mean? Flesh that out for me a little bit more.
There are detainees at Guantanamo who hate the United States, who reveled at the thought of 9/11. And part of the 9/11 plot was to take down the financial center of the world, what they thought, or at least the United States. That's corporate America. And so there were obviously detainees who wanted that to happen, and some of these pro bono lawyers, I'm a pro bono lawyer now, I was a defense lawyer before I even said this, so this is why it was just a stupid thing to say. I mean, I represented very unsavory people, and I did it zealously. But some of those detainees wanted to see the destruction of corporate America, and some of these pro bono lawyers work for firms that represent also corporate America. And so I was trying to make the sort of pointy-headed ethics, point at 7 in the morning at the end of a long week, and I screwed up. I misspoke, and the papers jumped all over me for it. I apologize, and it's ancient history.
Now, there's one other comment that you said that got you in trouble there. You said that the lawyers were claiming to work pro bono, but they were quote receiving monies from who knows where. You regret saying that as well?
Of course.
Right, and
but I didn't know where.
But the implication there seems to be that somehow they're getting money from, foreign countries, Middle Eastern countries, for representing these detainees? Was that the implication at the time?
Well, that's the way the implication was written about. But my job at Detainee Affairs was to be the policy advisor to the Secretary. And believe it or not, we didn't have... we weren't in charge of everything related to detainees. We weren't in charge of military commissions, and we weren't in charge of anything related to the litigation. That was done in the General Counsel's office and the Department of Justice. And so I honestly didn't know how, since I've never worked in a large law firm, how they got funded. And so I was trying to I should have just said, I don't know how they're paid, and left it at that. But again, it wasn't my best moment in life. I've apologized for it. It's ancient history. We've moved on.
All right. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to move on from that, and I want to ask you one last question about lawyers in general at Guantanamo Bay, because you were at the Pentagon and head of detainee affairs, so this is why, of course, it's relevant to you.
Sure.
Lieutenant Commander Charles Swift was a JAG lawyer who represented Hamdan. And in fact, he won a historic case in the Supreme Court.
He did.
And he was then he was basically let go by the Navy because you were either promoted up or you're shown out. And what he had said was, look, they asked us basically to get just to have our detainees plead guilty, and I didn't go along with that, and that's why he was eventually moved out. What do you think about that? I mean, do you believe what Lieutenant Commander Charles Swift was saying? Do you think what happened to him was wrong? What are your thoughts?
After 9/11, I was involuntarily recalled back to active duty to the Navy JAG to ostensibly be a detainee's lawyer. But remember, Shank, in 2002, the President didn't authorize detainees to have military lawyers. So where did the Navy send me? To Florida. And who was my co-senior defense counsel in that whole area? Charlie Swift. We became best friends, golf buddies. We defended a lot of guys. I got to know Charlie really well. And in 2002, way before he was representing Hamdan, he'd already been passed over for promotion one time as a lieutenant commander. And so Charlie raised his hand to join commissions. I went back to my civilian job as an assistant United States attorney in Washington. We stayed in touch ever since. And in fact, when I was in office, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, and Charlie was ably defending Hamdan, he would personally call me sometimes and say, hey, can you help me with this? And I would. So, in fact, the morning the Hamdan decision came down at 11 o'clock in the morning, I called him at 7 in the morning on his cell phone, because I know he walks his dog early in the morning, and I said, hey, Charlie, you're going to have a big day. Congratulations. You should be proud of yourself.
So do you think
we've remained friends ever since. So he was passed over for promotion prior to even joining commissions, but he could have been picked up the second time around. People get picked up. I don't, if Charlie says they were pressuring him to plead, I believe Charlie. I believe him. But I do not think that you can jump to the immediate next statement that he was kicked out of the Navy because Charlie was 2 or 3 years away from retirement eligibility in 2002 when he and I served together and played golf together.
But Cully, if you were a JAG lawyer,
I am. I'm still in the reserves.
Right. So as a JAG lawyer, you win a Supreme Court case. Doesn't that merit a promotion rather than getting kicked out, generally speaking?
Well, you'd think. But you have to understand how promotions work in the military, and that is, once you've been passed over once, you're what's called above the zone. And there are very few people who get then selected for the next level of promotion once they've been passed over the first time. It's an up-and-out system. It's a cutthroat system. There's a lot of really competitive people. And, quite honestly, Charlie, I think, was happy to get out. He was planning to get out when I met him in 2002. I think it really hurt him personally. I mean, I'm dear friends with Charlie still to this day, that he wasn't picked up, especially with his good work in the Hamdan case. I know a lot of other good officers who weren't picked up. You would think if he won the Supreme Court case, you'd get a really hard second look. Charlie didn't. He's thriving in his criminal practice in Seattle, and he's doing great.